Everybody. So we are almost there. We have one more content week and then the final exam. And I want to give you a quick update about schedule because this week straddles the Thanksgiving holiday. I wanted to give you a little extra time to get your assignments in. And so I'm going to extend the deadline from Friday to Monday to just give you an extra few days so that you guys can enjoy your Thanksgiving. I think this assignment that you're about to work on is one of the more important ones in this class, not just because of what you're reading, but because of what you're doing. When you go forward from this class, what's more important than whether or not you remember the specific details of these literary works is remembering what you did in terms of learning how to write and thinking about your process as a writer and how you can complete arguments to uh, argue a specific point. And so last week, what I had you do was to go and find a scholarly source so that you could introduce yourself to what literary scholars do with these texts and how they think about them. Now, the next step is to establish your own point of view and bring it into conversation with this literary source. And that sounds like a daunting task. And there's a lecture video that I've included there that kind of unpacks it a little bit more. But it really is important that you find your own perspective on these texts. And sometimes that's in reference to other people. And you can say, well, this argument is wrong and for these reasons. And I have written that many times and had that written about stuff that I've wrote as well. That's just the nature of what we do. That's how we learn is we put an idea out there and then people respond to it. And this is what this assignment gets you really in the process of engaging with that type of idea. So what I've included there is a chapter from a really helpful book called They Say I Say. It is probably one of the most essential books that I've ever read as a writer, and that I've ever assigned, or even in these just a little bit of chapters that you're reading. So it's an exceptional book because it teaches you how to engage with sources. And the chapter that I've included there talks about how to best disagree or agree with the source. And so read that chapter. Make sure you watch the lecture video because it really unpacks how to approach this assignment. And finally, read the assignment guidelines really closely because I've laid out a pretty decent rough outline that you can follow. Because sometimes I know that we get into these assignments and we spend a lot of time just thinking like, how do I even do this? But what that video does is just give you a framework to get started. And you don't have to follow the framework, but I think it's a good way to just start generating some ideas if you follow that pattern. And I'm excited about you taking this forward because I was thinking about my dissertation, which is a very long book, essentially. But what it is basically this same process done over and over and over again, and then building into a larger point. And that's what all research is, literary or otherwise, is going with a perspective that you want to look at, finding out what others say about it, and finding your own way through that if you can. And so go ahead and take this as this kind of last hoorah before we move into the final exam starting next week. So, and just as a heads up for the final exam, it's going to be pretty well exactly the same format as the midterm, except it's only going to focus on texts that have taken place after the midterm. So the Renaissance, Philip Sidney, until now, so all the way through Jonathan Swift. So, but in terms of the format, you should know that quite well. So if you wanted to do anything at this time to get ready for it, it would be to just refamiliarize yourself with those texts. And you can always reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. Email is cmoody@aum.edu. I do hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. Thanks very much. Oh, and I will be checking my email throughout the holiday. So just, I know that sometimes we don't get to stop. You or I get to stop during the academic year for Thanksgiving because we have stuff due. So if you need anything, please feel free to let me know. Take care.